Let's talk for a minute about cybersquatting. What exactly is meant by the term cybersquatting? Well, cyber relates to the culture of computers, the internet, our virtual reality that occurs in cyberspace. But what about squatting? Think about it like this. You leave your home for several months and return only to find every light in the house is on. And a total stranger is sitting in your living room with your bathrobe on, watching your television and eating your snacks. That, my friends, is what some people refer to as a squatter. A total stranger who has no right to be in your space, but has taken up residence there and is willing to sell all of your belongings back to you. A cyber squatter, for all intents and purposes, has taken over your internet domain, living there, no right to be there. He's claimed it as his own, and he wants to sell it back to you for a premium price. Or perhaps he wants to make a profit off of your hard work and sponge off of your trademark. That is a cyber squatter. Before we take a look at cyber squatting, let's examine the background a little bit. The Lanham Act was actually enacted by Congress in 1946, and it was based on power granted to it by the Commerce Clause. And if you remember, the Commerce Clause is one of the enumerated rights, which is located under Article 1, Section 8, and Clause 3 of the United States Constitution. It governs the trade within intrastates and with foreign nations. But back to the Lanham Act, it actually provides for a national system of trademark registration and protects the owner of a federally registered mark against the use of similar marks if such use is likely to result in consumer confusion or the dilution of a famous mark is likely to occur. The scope of the Lanham Act is independent of and concurrent with any common state laws. One of the most important intellectual property protection acts in the United States is the 1947 Lanham Act, the federal statute of law enacted in 1946 and signed into law by President Harry Truman. It forms the cornerstone of trademark law, incorporating provisions that outline trademark registration, methods for dealing with activities infringing on those rights, the rights of the trademark holder, and such items as dilution or false advertising. Apart from being the foundation upon which the entire trademark process rests, it also confers protection to trademarks that are unregistered, so that subsequent amendments and international treaties ratified by the United States that may have a result in an expansion of the act later on would be covered. While limited in scope, its laws allow owners of trademarks who could not register them to enforce these laws in case of infringement later on. Chapters 1 and 2 of the Lanham Act are devoted to the principal and supplemental registers, regulating, among other provisions, how trademarks might be registered and the requirements they must meet in order to be registered. The one that we're interested in is Chapter 3, General Provisions, which it digs deeper into the way in which trademark holder may seek to remedy infringements upon the trademark that has changed over the decades. This includes continued expansion of the Act and serves to update it with provisions dealing with all the new technologies that are coming out. For example, one of the latest editions is aimed at dealing specifically with cyber squatting, the practice of buying up domains with the intent to sell them back to interested parties at an inflated price. So the definition of cyber squatting, also known as domain squatting, according to the United States federal law known as the Anti-Cyber-Squatting Consumer Protection Act, is registering, trafficking in, or using an internet domain name with bad faith intent to profit from the goodwill of someone else's trademark. The cyber squatter offers to sell the domain to the person or company who owns the trademark to begin with, and usually it's at an exorbitant price. They also tend to camouflage the names, and they maybe add an extra letter or subtract an extra letter to where it looks familiar, and they take advantage of people's bad spelling. And then when they do this, the traffic goes to a site that has nothing to do with the original trademark, and it's generally for illicit purposes. Again, the cyber squatters target distinctive marks, popular brand names for a variety of reasons. Some of the registered well-known brand names as internet domain names, they do this to extract payment from the rightful owners of those particular marks. The cyber squatters will lock up the marks. They'll go through and they will buy up all of the domain names and lock up all of them, and force the person who has that trademark to engage with the cyber squatter on how to get that trademark back or that domain back, especially since it's under their own brand name. Bad faith intent to profit from the trademark. Well-known names are auctioned off at the highest bidder. In addition to cyber squatters buying up the domains, they'll register well-known marks and prey on consumers' confusion by misusing the domain name by misspelling, as I alluded to earlier. And sometimes these Google sites or these domain sites will come up with material that is not very nice, sometimes of pornographic nature, and sometimes it's they're sites that are trying to elicit money or get your credit card information. And identical or confusingly similar to the existing trademark names. Again, this is just a misspelling. For example, I've used Google as an example at the bottom of the page, where it looks very similar, and somebody that's in a hurry may accidentally type on the misspelling of the Google. It's got the same colors, but it will take them to a totally different space. The same with Gwiggle. I've seen some of the domain names that have an I in there, and they're numerous. There are numerous counts of domain abuse, and that is the purpose of this Protection Act. They are determined. It is their resolve to fight against these cyber squatters and protect those who have a vested interest with the trademark. Another example that I have listed is under www.apple.com. And if you actually go to the other website, the www.iphone6s.com, you'll see a note that basically states that the domain is for sale. Somebody is taking advantage of Apple's iPhone 6s brand and using it as a domain name and trying to sell it back to Apple. It's really kind of strange that people would go to these extents. I mean, it's just like they're asking for a lawsuit to happen. I have listed on this slide some notable cases, and this is just a small sample of what I discovered while doing research. You can do the research, and it just amazes me how many cases there are out there. But the two to begin with, attphonecard.com or attcallingcard.com, those are scams to where people think that they're going to purchase a phone card or calling card, and the domain squatters are actually getting the credit card information and using it against the consumer. Dellspares.com, that's a bogus website where they're selling spare parts for Dell computers. Has nothing to do with Dell. They're just profiting off of Dell and Dell's name. Again, Levi's 501warehouse.com. It's a totally illegitimate, well, not illegitimate, but it's a fake domain name, and it has nothing to do with the actual Levi's brand. The Levi's brand is sold under Levi's only. Goigle, this is what I alluded to earlier. Just they're preying on people's bad spelling. And then the last one was kind of interesting. Actually, Microsoft.com had to take on a Canadian teenager by the name of Mike Rowe, who had his own website or his own domain, MikeRoweSoft.com. And you can find these cases if you go through and search. Another one that has been in court for 20 years is Nissan.com, and some of you may know that Nissan used to be Datsun.com, and there's actually a computer company that registered their name Nissan years ago before Datsun became Nissan. And it's gotten kind of messy because the big Nissan brand is trying to actually bully this little computer company out of their domain. It's working in the reverse. They didn't change their name from Datsun to Nissan soon enough, and these people have the name Nissan.com for their computer business. And so anyway, just a little background on cyber squatters and domain hijacking, I guess, if you will. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned a little bit about cyber squatting.